Now, last week on the Toy Show, we introduced you to one of the big hits this Christmas. It uses waste paper, magazines, wrapping paper, and so on to create things like this. Look at that little a bag, a handbag. Beautiful. Concertina sides. Okay, all made from discarded paper. Now, this product is going global, and it's set to make its inventors into multi-millionaires. But the thing is, the story behind it is really quite extraordinary, because in the case of this couple, necessity was the mother of invention. They were in dire straits. They were literally flat broke when the eureka moment happened. I want you to welcome, please, the creators of Paper FX, Noel Donegan and Luz Java. Hey, Noel, please be welcome. Luz, how are you? You're very welcome, please.
Thank you.
Now, you two are a disparate couple. We'll find out how you met in a few minutes' time. But let's talk about that eureka moment. I mean, what kind of situation were you guys in before the creation of Paper FX?
If we lived in America, we would have been financially challenged. You come from Dublin, you're broke.
You're broke. Totally broke. How broke was broke?
We hadn't got a penny. We literally had not got a penny to our name. And the future looked very bleak. I was quite depressed and didn't really know where the way out was going to come.
Okay, so the two of you had no money at all?
No money at all.
What's that thing you were telling me before we came on about trying to buy a litre of milk?
Yeah, that was the most depressing moment. We went to buy a litre of milk and we realised we had 100 and odd pennies saved in a jar. And we went to the shop and put them on the counter, and the guy on the counter said, "No, you have to count them to me." So we had to count every one of them pennies. And that was the moment to realise just how bad things really were.
Yeah. And the reason the eureka moment happened was, again, because you were broke. You had no money.
Yeah, this was extraordinary. We were staying in my mum's and my sister's, and we woke up one morning and we discovered it was Lorraine's birthday. Lorraine's in the audience tonight. And not only had we not got a present for her, but we hadn't even got the money to buy a card. And Luce looked at me, and I think she could see the desperation in my eyes. And she just went off into a corner, and I heard paper getting torn left, right, and centre. And I thought I was feeling bad, but I thought she'd gone crazy.
Yeah.
And she came back about a half an hour later, and she produced one of the most extraordinary things that I'd seen in a long, long time. She had taken a magazine, and somehow she'd managed to weave it together to create this birthday card with a message inserted inside. Apart from bringing tears to my eyes, I just thought, this is amazing. We had a birthday celebration, but all the time through that celebration, I kept thinking, this card, this card, this card. And when the birthday was over, I said to Luce, we're locking the doors. We're going to lock ourselves in here. There's something special in this.
All right, Luce, how did you learn to do that? How did you learn to weave paper in this way?
I basically, but I like art and craft. I do a lot of weaving, but never in my life I weaving paper. Loads of like bamboo, you can weaving any material. But one day I was in the bus when I back home from apply for abroad as a seawoman before. So I rolled the newspaper in my two hands, and then I'm thinking I can do something because I seen the rolled paper is tiny, so like a paper straw. So I'm thinking, so I can make something for this. The following day, I got the telex from Cunard Line to work to them. So I go abroad and I forget the time.
So that idea happened a long time ago. You then went to work for Cunard, and that was fine.
Yeah.
And in the back of your mind, this thing which only came to be useful for this card, the birthday card. Now, how did you two meet? Because you both had previous lives, shall we say?
We had. Right. And as I said, I had come out of a long-term marriage. And I was some time out of it and suffering all the effects you do suffer when a relationship like that ends. And I was in Eason's, and I decided, shake yourself out of this, Noel. You like business, you like arts and crafts, get something there that might inspire you. Reached for the book, and another hand came across and reached for the same book. And the book went to the floor, and I looked, And to use one of David's expressions, I had a focaccia moment. I said, God, she's gorgeous. And I said, okay, we'll come to a compromise here with this book. You can buy the book as long as I can buy you a coffee.
And that's how it began.
And that's how it began.
And obviously, neither of you had any money, so it wasn't an easy thing to do to, you know, set up home together.
It wasn't an easy thing even to buy the cup of coffee.
Okay.
To be honest with you. No, and I mean, only for the generosity and support of my family, my mother and sister in particular. They were going through a difficult time as well. Lorraine has a son who's autistic. We had a niece who was cerebral palsy, and they were helping out greatly and giving a lot of space in the house over to helping them. And here we were lying on the floor.
So that's how you were. You were actually sleeping on the floor.
We were sleeping on the floor.
That's
We were,
right.
At the time this happened.
Year 2 was a progression. We moved from the floor to the desk. 'Cause we decided that it was warmer and we could wake at our desk every morning and seem particularly
So you slept on a
dedicated.
desk?
We slept on
Yeah.
a desk.
Where we work, where we eat, that is we sleep as well.
And we still have that desk.
Yeah, we keep it.
You were a creative man because in a previous life as a hairdresser, you had invented something else.
You wouldn't think it now, Papa.
No.
Yes, I'd worked in the hairdressing industry for 20 years, and I've always loved invention. I've always been, as my mother would tell you, a curious child to her detriment. And I'd noticed there was a service being performed in the salon. It was taking maybe 2 or 3 people, an hour and a half, 2 hours to do this process. And I thought it was crazy. It had to be costing us money to do this. And I went home, started cutting up pieces of plastic. Ultimately, I invented a product called Easy Perm, and it meant the service could be provided by one person in about 45 minutes.
So Easy Perm, when perms were in fashion, was a money spinner.
Kevin
You made it
Keegan loved it.
Now let's have a look at some of the product that you can make from Paper FX. Now this, there's the kit. How many of these, by the way, have sold now in the UK and Ireland?
Around 150,000 units.
150,000 units. Okay, that's the kit, and it shows you how to weave paper, basically. But there are bags, there are bowls, there are all sorts of things. There's a hat.
Yes. What we say, sorry.
That is the part of second craft kit. That is the Paper FX too.
Paper FX 2 is
Yeah.
already on the way.
Yeah.
Paper Effects. What we do with Paper Effects 1 is that we teach you how to take what is basically waste paper,
Yeah.
and we say reinvent it into the items that you actually see here. We do it on a step-by-step basis. There's 6 projects, and you learn from each project. You build on the skills on the previous
So
project.
this is FX1.
Paper
Yeah.
Effects 1.
That's
Okay,
right.
and then you'll get 2, 3, and by
Three
the
and
time you're
four,
on 4 or
five.
5, you'll be making wonderful things.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we see Paper Effects as being a brand. It's not just this one product. It's going to be a brand.
This seems like you know, an easy thing. You get the idea and suddenly you're in the shops. Not so. Tell me about the stage from getting the idea and seeing that it worked to actually being able to sell it.
You're quite correct, Pat. It was not an easy. The first thing you need to say is, we've got this great idea. How do we develop it? So, locked ourselves in. Supposed to be a week to work out the processes. Ended up being 6 months. Developed the techniques needed. We now knew what we wanted to do, and we developed rough tools to help us achieve the results that we wanted to get.
But you had no money.
But we had no money. So we decided we need to get money on board in order to properly prototype this product. Went to the banks, went to enterprise boards, and
No.
not only no, kind of this glazed look over. Yes, you're going to make money from selling paper and craft items made from paper. It was very demoralizing, and we got bounced around a lot. Like, for instance, the enterprise boards, I'm sure they do great work for people, but in our situation, we had the idea. We'd gone to the likes of Eason's, showed them the finished product. They were saying, fantastic, you get this made, we'll stock it, etc. We had people who were willing to manufacture it for us.
But the middle bit, getting the money and getting it beyond the prototype stage to the manufacturing stage. So who was your guardian angel? Who came?
Well, we did have a guardian angel, and this is another extraordinary thing which happened to us. We were sitting down one day looking through the paper, saw houses for rent. We hadn't got a penny to rent a house, but we said, let's go and have a look at something to do. Had a look around the house, and when we were leaving, the girl who was showing the house said, by the way, if you're interested, contact GPK Properties. Jerry Kinsella, who is the director of GPK Properties, I knew him from a previous life, And obviously, word had got back to him that we'd been looking at the house. Gave me a phone call, said, "Noel, pop into me. I'd love to see you, see what you're doing." I told him my circumstances, where we were, and he was touched.
You're saying he's a big man.
He's a big man, and the biggest part of him is his heart. And he really felt for us, and he just turned around and he said, "Move into that house." And I said, "But we don't have the money to move into that house." And he said, "I didn't ask you whether you had the money to move into it. I'm just telling you, move into it." And that December, we got a letter through the post, and there was a €1,000 check saying, "Happy Christmas."
Wow.
I mean, we couldn't believe this was like a fairy tale, but it was to get better. Jerry then said, "Look, I want to know exactly what you're trying to do." So we showed him what we were doing with the paper effects. And he said, "I have a very, very good friend called Donald Curtin of Bourne Curtin Kelly Accountants. And I'm sure Donald would be very interested to see this." So we went along, brought all our stuff, the same presentation we would have given to enterprise boards and banks.
Yeah.
Put it on the table, and within 5 minutes, Donald just said, "Stop.
Don't convince me.
You don't need to convince me anymore." He said, "This is absolutely fantastic." So he said, "You're going to have a salary, and we're going to back you to the hilt in relation to what we need to make this a success." And we've been so fortunate because not only have we had financial backers, they've brought their expertise to the project, and we have made what we consider great friends.
All right. Yeah. And it's going to be a huge success. It's already big in the UK and Ireland, big in Australia, big in New Zealand.
Yes.
Where next?
US.
North and South America.
Yeah.
And 30 countries within Europe.
Wow.
Yes.
Have you made your first million yet?
Not yet, but it's on the way.
It just says, believe in your dream, put up with a lot of stuff to get there, but you got there in the end.
Yeah, you have to be determined. I mean, when we went to the enterprise boards, we got hit with such an amount of paperwork that it could have turned you off. We got bounced around like a tennis ball. We went, as I said, to the banks. You just got this glazed look over your eyes. Who are these two people coming to us without a penny in their pocket, looking for us to invest in something that's made from paper? And it would have been very easy just to hold your head down at that stage and sort of say, let's forget about it. But we've always been a great support to each other. I mean, I can say without a doubt the best thing that ever happened to me in my life was meeting Luce. I said, I had a folk catchy a moment, but thank God her name wasn't Vaginica. Because this could have been a totally different story we're having here tonight. But it has, and it's just, we just gelled. It was just a meeting of minds and souls, and we both love art, and we're both passionate about what we do.
Well, when I heard the story, I knew we had to share it with our audience on The Late Late Show. I know it's going to go from strength to strength, and it could not happen to nicer people. So, Luce, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, from one success story that's just beginning to one that's very well consolidated, because my next guest has sold over 70 million albums to date, is one of the top-selling female vocalists of all time.